Does that work? No? No?
Sorry?
Hello? Hello?
Hello?
I can hear.
All
I wanted is a response back to let me know you can hear me. In fact, I don't need to now. Right. Item 1 then. Membership of the committee.
Do we need to send it?
Are you all here?
When are you?
I think it would be good, Chair, if maybe they could just announce who they are.
Yes, because we don't even have a name card, so I'm going to have probably problems remembering your name, so I'll refer to what we've got here. So we'll start, please.
Okay, Councillor Harpreet Ashbrow Ward.
Yeah, Councillor Sokka, Ashbrow. Oh, sorry.
You're my
This
councillor.
word, yeah.
Councillor Mohammed Sarwar from Bradford and Netherlands as well.
Councillor Mel Griffiths from Barry.
Councillor Anthony Seckler, Andrew March. Paul Davis from Burnside. Councillor James Homer from Ashbrow. Councillor Shea Fuller, Greenhead Ward.
Councillor Zalana Kirklees Ward, substituting for Councillor Green.
Councillor Wayne from
I'm Councillor Terry Lyons, I'm the chair of this committee. On my right hand side here I've got the solicitor and on my left the planning officer. Right now we'll move forward onto the membership of the committee. Minutes of the previous meeting. Somebody prepared to move? Councillor Uller, is that seconded? Whoever was here last time, Councillor Uller?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. All those in favour, please show those that were at the meeting. Thank you. Interest in lobbying. Can we start with Councillor Uller?
No interest on it.
No, yeah.
None here.
I've been lobbied on application 2019-90623 on numerous occasions.
So you could give me just a page.
Yeah.
That's
oh,
fine.
sorry, page.
No, that's okay.
Page 65, Councillor Griffith.
Page 65, yeah. No advice to get your action taken.
None. 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 None.
None vote.
None.
Well, I have one, and that's page 73. Admission of the public. Yes, I see we've got members of the public here. Deputations and petitions. I understand we have a.
Yes, Chair, we've received a petition for the page 65 item, which is the Marsden application, signed by 21 people. The reasons for the petition are that they've identified that the built-in conservation area to the front of the elevation is removing boundary walls and creating a mudslide when it rains. It's creating a blind spot on the corner, making it a blind spot for drivers and pedestrians. The local children play out. It creates a hazard. And the final point that's put in the petition is that the animal enclosure does not blend in with the rest of the street. So we've acknowledged the submission of that.
Just remind me, how many?
21.
21. Thank you. Public question, yeah. Questions from the public? No? Site visits, made those. And local authority appeals.
Thank you, Chair. My name's Teresa Harlow, Development Management Team Leader. There are 8 appeals to report this committee. 6 of those were dismissed, including one that was reported to subcommittee. That was the change of use of land to domestic garden at 46 The Fairway at Fixby. That the inspector agreed with our decision to refuse, stating that it would erode the verdant character of a prominent site and would also lead to pressure to fell trees in the future. 1 appeal was part allowed, part dismissed. That related to a discharge and conditions submission, and 1 appeal was allowed, which was prior notification for an agricultural building. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, Councillor Sokol.
I just want to say, it's 6 application of
Just lift your voice up. I'm sure not everybody can hear.
6 out of 8 applications have been dismissed. Yeah, one is allowed, one is partially allowed. That means it shows officer and the members of the committee make very right decision. So,
You mean we can pat ourselves on the back?
yeah. So I congratulate the officer and the members.
Well, thank you for that. So now we'll move on to the actual applications.
No, that's not.
That's
There's two
on.
before.
Right. So page 43.
Good afternoon. My name is Sam Connolly. My role involves some enforcement of public rights of way and some management of public rights of way, and I work with the council. The agenda item concerns an application to the council to make an order to divert a public footpath. That path is Bunfield 146. It's predominantly farmland above X1 in the southern part of the Home Valley. The proposed diversion would take the footpath away from the farmhouse area, which is being developed for future reoccupation, and provide a link directly to a bridleway, as shown in Plan 1. The officer indicates that the area is predominantly rural and high above headwaters. There is one outstanding negative comment after preliminary consultation, which was from Beacon Northern Footpath Society. They objected to the gate which is being shown, and it's the fastening of the gate. The agent has provided this photo, which is showing that they have made some alterations. In the case that this is confirmed, the public rights of way team will work with the landowner to ensure that the path is open and available, and work is done to improve this gate. Officers recommend that the order is made and is confirmed and supported. Thank you, Chair.
Right. Are there any comments? Yes.
I was just going to say to move the officer's recommendation.
Sorry. Moving officer's recommendation. Is that seconded? Seconded, Councillor. All those in favour, please show.
Big hand raised, please. Yes, unanimous, Chair.
Thank you. We'll move on then to page 65. Captain Cage and Garden Shed to front 22 Otterwell Terrace, Martin.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Emma Thompson. I'm the planning officer presenting this application today. This application was deferred from last committee for a site visit, which was carried out this morning. The application seeks permission for the erection of a cage and shed to the front of the property. The application is brought to committee at the request of former council Bellman for the reasons outlined in the report. The site sits on the edge of the Marsden Conservation Area. The cage encompasses most of the front garden, projecting forward of the front elevation to the boundary edge. The shed sits within this and looks to the side of front boundaries. It's considered that due to the scale and mass of the development, it would result in an incongruous feature within the street scene and would not preserve the character and appearance of the conservation area. Public benefit does not exist to outweigh the harm, and as such, the development is recommended for refusal for the reason outlined in your report. Members should note that we've received further representation in support of the application today. There's nothing further
I've got Betty Oliver. No, like, you just stand back here. Okay, and then.
One of the neighbours has done a petition of mainly Huddersfield residents, but also people who are affected by the safety aspect, with having children who play around the street, i.e. grandparents, etc. The person who's done the petition can't be here today due to work commitments. We all oppose the erection of the cat cage because it's built in the conservation area to the front elevation. Removing boundary walls and creating a mudslide when it rains, creating a blind spot on the corner, making it a blind spot for drivers and pedestrians and the children who run and play, creates a hazard. The cat cage does not blend in with the rest of the street and can be seen from the bottom of the street and also from Bin Road. It is an eyesore in a conservation area, erected without planning permission and no consultation with the neighbours who are affected by it.
Got it, right. Could you keep your microphone there, please? Just hand it to the next person. I'll put down, is it Patricia Mann?
Well, all I can say is I reiterate exactly what Betty's just been saying. And plus there's also something that I've been looking at online, as if they've given reasons for taking the walls down to preserve them being stolen, to stop people sitting on them, and for litter being thrown in. And I've lived there for 50 years and I've never had any of those problems at all. We don't get that many people walking up there. But I do have to say, we can't drive our car around the top anymore because of the blind spot, because we've got rather a large bonnet. So we have to park our car now on the road at the bottom. Plus my granddaughter can't come round in her car anymore because she can't, well she daren't, because she's frightened there's going to be a car there or something else. So it's just totally out of character with the rest of the street, and it's a conservation area and all said and done. Why have one if you're going to abuse it? Thank you.
Thank you. Just wait down. And Councillor Warner, you wishing to speak on this? Councillor Leslie Warner.
Hi, thanks. Can I just say just before I say a few words? Again, as my ongoing moan as a new councillor with a hearing impairment, the acoustics in this room, it's very difficult to hear people, except if they speak really clearly into the mic. When people were mentioned before, I couldn't hear a thing. So I'm just letting you know that for...
Well, hopefully it's just a temporary measure, because in fact the council was open until last night and managed to get the council meeting in, unfortunately.
Okay.
So we're here for it.
Okay. So basically, we've just had a number of households contacting us many times in the 3 months that I've been in post, very much echoing what's already been said, that it really is. We've had 10 households directly contacting one of us. There are 3 others in Cam Valley. It's an industrial style type animal enclosure, and it's the fact that it isn't peeping at all. It's the top end of the terrace, and it's the corner. It turns it into a bit of where a lot of children play, and it's transformed that corner into a bit of a blind spot. So it's less safe for footpath users and local children to play at the top end of the street. And as you can see from the earlier photograph, the terrace has got a beautiful facade, sloping line of which is broken by the structure. So it's in a well-preserved conservation area, and I'm afraid I've asked the committee to uphold the officer's recommendation to refuse.
Thank you. Thank you. We have Sue Howell. And Sue speaking in support.
Good evening, good afternoon, sorry. My name's Sue. I live at 22 Waterwells Terrace. Basically, we moved into Marsden a couple of years ago and we rented a house in Royal Street. and we were looking around for a house which would be suitable to do similar to what I've done. When the house came up on the end, it looked like the perfect opportunity. We had a look. We weren't going to affect anybody's views because we're at the top. You've been for a site visit. You know, anybody obvious view sitting out the bottom is going to look to the nice hillside, not an overrun thing with sheds and, you know, sheds that are not painted and everything. Regarding the road and the issue of going round, it isn't actually a road. We've had this confirmed by highways. It is a pathway. And all the cars that actually go across are driving across our land initially to get through it. Regarding the mud bath, that was something temporary. We've done our best to clear it. It was a temporary thing. It's not like that now. You've seen it today. I did, before we actually purchased the house, go and speak to the immediate neighbours either side. One of the ladies who's already spoken, I did actually speak to her and she was aware of it. But the main thing is, I also rang the council and before we bought the house, and I was informed that it would be within permitted development. Turns out it's not. There was no mention in all that it was actually in a conservation area. We weren't told about that. We started building the end of June, beginning of July last year. It was completed approximately August, September time. We had no communication from anybody until the 29th of January, when I got a knock on the door by somebody called Rebecca from enforcement or somewhere. I can't comment because other than her asking us to attend a meeting 10 days later, which we did, we were promised we'd be meeting with the planning officer. We turned up the meeting and it was her again. We were basically just told they'd had a look, there was nothing we could do, we had to take it down. No more information, no advice given. I never got anything in written confirmation. I didn't get any emails, no follow-up phone calls or anything. And then obviously I asked Donna for some advice. Basically around where we live, we've got a lot of cats. We really have got a lot of cats. And I know from Royd Street when I used to live 36, directly 2 doors across, I had an elderly cat at the time who was attacked by one of the neighbours' cats. I'm constantly rescuing my next door neighbour's cats from bully cats. Basically as well, I just want to keep my cats safe. I'm a retired policewoman, I'm disabled, I've got injuries which are getting worse and worse and worse. I just want a quiet life, I just want to sit outside, not disturb anybody, keep my cats safe.
Would you wind up, please?
Yes, and also 32 Spring Street has just been granted permission for a porch and they're in the conservation area as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Richard Howard. Richard is the applicant.
I would like to start by continuing what my wife was referred to. Her call to planning did not flag up anything about conservation area. And I looked on the internet and I did find a conservation area, but it didn't include us. In 2007, the area was extended, and according to the council's appraisal, they were supposed to put traffic calming measured in, which I can't think has happened. Also, I've holidayed around our country, and in most places, even if you go to Delft, there's a sign that says conservation area. So I didn't know. I didn't think I was doing any wrong about it. I do question it's a two-down house. It's not uncommon in Yorkshire, so why is it? Why do you feel you have to preserve it? Bottombank Mill isn't in the conservation area. The house was built because of the mill. Your appraisal mentions the industrialness, the ironwork, the engineering, and the cages. I can really think. I looked at other properties around me at the time, and there's other things in other streets around me. Something 8 foot tall, if you stand on the pavement, which is much higher than that. And there's one with the wall missing. The wall was falling down, it was in bad repair. People have been hitting it, using it, and what is a footpath around the side, not a road, they should not be driving on it. Hitting the wall, so it was in a bad state of repair. Sorry, I'm getting very nervous here. The shed looks like a fence from the outside. You've all been seeing it today. The cage is bigger, and I've been trying to think of ways to disguise it. I've tried different coloured paints where you can't really see. I was going to grow some things over it. The woodwork to me is protecting the wall, stops people sitting on it, stops people breaking it. The whole project is not permanent, it's bolted together. It gives us privacy and our neighbour's privacy opposite. She's just looking at them all the time. And surely that's a basic human right to be private in the living room. People are walking up a footpath and they're looking at me as if I'm a display. So I hope you can all realise I do not mean any harm, just want a quiet life in a nice place with my cats, safe and my wife happy. I do want to create a place all night, so I'm willing to work with the planning department to make what we want acceptable. When a phrase, we don't live in a museum. If you do want to look at that sheet that we've all got, it plainly shows the bit going past our house, where our house is, and that is the pavement. You've all got it in front of you. Thank you.
Yeah. I've got Donna Bellamy. Donna's going to read out the letter from Maggie Oddy, who had registered to speak but she can't make it. So to read that first, and then she's got your own presentation as well. Yeah. So if you do the Maggie and you want first. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Committee. This is what Maggie's saying. She says, I'm very sorry I cannot be here in person, as I was last time, but I run a community charity shop and was unable to get the time off for this meeting, but I still want my opinion heard. I live at number 21 Otter Wells Terrace, next door to Richard and Sue. They are lovely and genuine neighbours who have kept me fully appraised of their plans for the project. It was built from the desire to keep their beloved rescue cats safe in an area where there is a large cat population, some of which are aggressive and territorial. My own have fallen victim to the local cat bullies, so I fully understand their concerns. In regards to the catio itself, it has been well built using pleasing natural materials, and the cage itself seems fully in keeping with the local industrial heritage. The house is still fully visible from the road. It does not impede at all on my light or view and can no way be described as an eyesore. I find it very pleasing. I have read other people's concerns and objections and find some of the comments strange, as they make it sound as if the terrace is in an area widely used by ramblers and residents using their gardens. Neither is true. The adjoining path is little used, as it is steep and stony and certainly not suitable for prams, as have been suggested, and in my 4 years here I can barely recall it being used by anyone bar a couple of locals who use it to access their allotments. Also, the residents rarely sit out, as the terrace only gets the sun in the very early morning and for a very limited time in the evening. As for the issue of traffic and visibility, the access at the top of the terrace is a rough track, not a through road, and used by some residents who live at the top end of the terrace, so they can park cars outside their houses. This in itself is not ideal, as it is a very, very narrow street and makes access tricky, so any issues of visibility is of the driver's own making. There is a designated area for parking at the bottom of the terrace. In my opinion, it should have a dead end sign at them, as there is on Roy Street, which is the next street up. In conclusion, I feel it would be a great shame if the planning is refused. The catio was a labour of love by Richard and Sue to keep their family with their rescued cats safe. Thank you. Maggie. Thank you. Right, I just wanted to basically just say how come I got involved in this in the first place. It started way back before the elections. I'd done lots of surveying up that area, lots of leaflet delivery and all sorts of things. And then Sue contacted me to say that I'd already seen the cat shed, but Sue contacted me to say that she'd had a problem, and somebody turned up at her door from Kirklees and basically said to her to take it down. She did to go in a meeting and then was told to take it down. They've got so many little days. They were given no advice on what else they could do. She was clearly upset, they both were. So I obviously gave them the advice on what to do, which was contact planning and put in an application. But to know that I've been surveying, leaflet delivery and all sorts all over that time,
Not one person had actually said anything, complained, nothing. There were no complaints, no reactions on the surveys, no reactions to all the door knocking, anything like that. Regarding the access right up at the top, around the corner, that's certainly not a through road. If you Google map it, it even shows it's not a through road. It shows that it is a footpath. It's too narrow to be a through road. I couldn't get my car through, never in a million years. So I would say that is certainly not an issue. I've also received, which I did bring to the last planning meeting when there was actually no objectors that came to the last planning meeting. I did bring this letter with me as well, which is from 31 Deerhill Drive, which is the house that looks directly onto Ottiwells from Deer Hill. And it's from Neil and Lynn Daniel who live in that house. And they actually wrote that they've seen a number of submissions made to planners regarding the structure which has been built, and they can't understand the concerns which have been expressed. As when you look up and down towards terrace, there are a vast mix of garden styles. It also says that it actually gives them more privacy as well as it gives Sue and Rich more privacy, because they are now not looking onto each other's gardens, they're not looking into each other's houses, and I know I'm running out of time. So, and I've actually got a copy of that letter if planning officers would like to see it, or and they have enough copies if indeed permitted in that one.
We referred to it in the presentation.
Right, okay.
All right, that's it, Chair.
Members, Councillor.
Yeah, thank you. I think this was referred to the last committee. I think what we did then was better for a site visit because the deferral gave us time and gave us an opportunity to physically go and see what we was seeing. And it's an amenity thing. And for me, the scale and design is out of character. It is overbearing, and it's not preserving the character of the area. I'm happy to move the officer recommendation.
Councillor.
Unfortunately, I couldn't go to the site visit this morning, but I was looking at the photographs. It is quite a big, tall structure. I am sympathetic to Sue and Richard, because I think, you know, you've done it because obviously you've got your rescue cats, and I do understand why you would want to keep them safe. Just a couple of questions. Sue mentioned that she'd contacted the council about the matter, and that she'd been told it was within her rights to build the cage. Does anyone have any information on that? Because it might.
Through you, Chair, there are various ways in which to contact the council. Planning Services uses Kirklees Direct, so the customer advisors in Kirklees Direct can give basic planning advice. So there is specific planning advice about if it was classed as a means of enclosure, but if it's adjacent to a highway, that can't go more than 1 metre in height. And this isn't a means of enclosure because it's got a roof on it as well. So it's above what would be permitted development in any case, and it's not a means of enclosure. So I can't comment on who might have been contacted from planning, but unfortunately the structure that has been erected does need planning permission.
Okay. I do understand why there might be a bit of confusion for Sue and Richard there, though, and the point about the conservation area, is that coming after?
Through you, Chair, again, if a local search is done on behalf of a property, as one of the constraints, it would raise the properties in the conservation area. This part of Marsden's been in the conservation area for quite some years now.
Councillor Sutton.
Yeah, I've been on the site visit this morning. I agree with my two colleagues. This cage looks so big. It doesn't look nice. It looks eyesore to us. one cat, and the family cat is always considered to be part of the family member. Yeah? We're not keeping them all the time outside in the garden. They stay inside, they stay in the kitchen area, they stay in the living room and the bedroom. They are very intelligent animals. Yeah? It's okay if they want to just run around in the outside for kittens and cats. I think it's still too large, too high this case. Yeah, I don't know why the need is so high. And I got another concern on this issue. He say in the report there are cats and kittens in the house. It looks like there is something they are breeding cat kitten in the house there, which is not rightful. It might be cause noise to the neighbors. I'm not against the shed actually. If it's a small shed to store something, well, this cage is off. So I'm supporting my.
So you're supporting your colleague? Are you in
Yeah.
fact seconding that?
Yeah.
Go on. Other speakers. So it's been proposed and seconded to the officer's recommendation to refuse the planning application. All those in favour, please show.
Keep your hands raised, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 4.
Against? Abstentions?
2 abstentions.
Sorry, I've just been asked to announce that the application has been refused.
So now we move on then to page 73. And it's Blackpool Farm, Crossing Edge, Melton.
Thank you, Chair. Members have full reports in front of them and have had the benefit of the site visit this morning. The application is brought to committee at the request of Councillor Lyons for the reasons outlined in the report. The application seeks permission for the erection of an outbuilding measuring 8.8 metres in length and 3.6 metres wide, with a height of approximately 3 metres, being set around a metre in addition to that from the highway at the Crossland Edge. The building is to provide ancillary storage accommodation. The site is located in an area designated as green belt, where proposals for new buildings are considered inappropriate unless they fall within one of the categories set out in policy. The erection of an outbuilding can be viewed as an extension if closely associated with the host building and can be considered appropriate if it does not result in disproportionate additions over and above the size of the original dwelling. The host building has undergone significant extension to the side, which is this here, and to the rear. This area here. When an outbuilding is considered cumulatively with these extensions, it would result in disproportionate additions to the host, thereby being inappropriate development in the green belt. Furthermore, the building would have a detrimental impact on the openness and character of the green belt, being in an elevated position where there is currently open space. As such, the development is recommended for refusal for the reason outlined in the update. Nothing further to add, Chair. Thank you.
No speakers, Chair.
No speakers?
No.
Well, I'll kick off soon as I brought it to the committee here. The reason I brought it to the committee here was that it's a tidying up job. There's been no objections from anybody in that vicinity, in that little hamlet of Helmer. If there's anything slightly wrong, they'll soon let me know, as has happened in the past. So I don't see what the problem is really. At the back, you've got all the trees. It doesn't spoil any views. And to the front, there's large buildings also. You could see very little. In fact, it would be probably part of the roof you could see, which is going to be green. So it's up to you. speakers. Councillor Sutton.
Yeah. Chair, I actually agree with you, not as a chair, as a council member, because you brought this application to the committee. Yeah. I've been on the side. Yeah. Usually we get some objection from the statutory bodies, like English Heritage or other investigation. I don't think we got any objection from any side, even from the neighbors. Yeah. Member officer might have made this, with the guidelines they got. Yeah. But to me, I don't think they will impact any neighbors, any other road users. So I think we should approve the application. Yeah. So I move that.
Is it Councillor Smith? Councillor Smith.
Yeah. It does seem like quite an important structure. My main concern is a house which would be looking onto that gate length. There's been no objection. Is there much footfall and local traffic down there? Is it lane go anywhere? Is it used by public? It could create quite a dark corridor going back.
I'm trying to be as independent as I can on this one. Now, there are other farms further down, so the vehicles do use that. Yes.
Vehicles, but not animals or.
Well, you will get
the
occasion. That's true. Yes. Councillor.
Good morning. Yes, I'm Mr. In general, I'm very, very keen to protect Greenville. I think it's important. Looking at the photograph, I didn't know the site with it.
It's a shame.
Looking at the photograph, listening to comments, I don't think this will be particularly out of keeping with the Greenville. I think it could be built natural stone. I'm not thinking about the green roof, frankly. Now the natural slate roof.
You'll have to come and see my sons then. It's a beauty. The flowers.
I do think in this particular case, there's not a great mechanic to the Greenville. I'm prepared to support it.
Are you prepared to move that yourself?
Yes.
Yeah. Is that second?
Yeah, I think.
Councillor Martin, did you? Oh, sorry, Councillor Holman, then Councillor Martin.
Oh, I was just going to say that I'm not as convinced because, first off, I'm not sure we should make decisions just based on how many objections there were, because when the next application comes in when there are objections, does that mean then we have to accept that because we're accepting it elsewhere? So, but I appreciate that might demonstrate that perhaps people don't feel that it's particularly damaging. I agree with the fact that it's not exactly kind of open space in terms of views that you get because of all the trees and the buildings that are there. But I do think that having that structure there is going to be quite imposing on that track as you go down, and it's going to make it like almost like a walled track. So I can see. I'm more on the fence of accepting the officer's recommendation.
On the wall.
Yeah, I think I agree with what Councillor Holland said. I think we should not be making decisions based on the number of objectives. There haven't been any objections. It's about the application in front of us. Usually what we get from objectives is when they've got local knowledge of the staff. I've got concerns about the scale of this building. I walked a bit further down the lane. There are other properties. One was a property with an outbuilding, which seems to be probably outside toilet or something like that, quite old, which to me was more in keeping with what's going on here. And there's quite a lot of mixed development. There's a relatively modern garage further on, which again doesn't look to be in keeping. There's a wooden ancillary building to farm further on as well. So, but they seem to blend in a bit more with what's going on. I think we again looking at previous history, the conversion of the barn into dwelling neutral garage, page 75. Is that part of the current development? That's a separate. Yeah, I'm just got concerned about the size of this. And I think if we were been advising the applicant, actually it's quite a substantial area of land in front of the house. There's perhaps better places where it could be put, which would have a lot less impact on the whole of that area. I think in terms of the size of it, it could be stuff that's more in keep. Fill the needs for storage and which transport. There's probably better ways to achieve what we want to achieve on that side.
Very similar, actually. I think it is imposing. Having been there today, you can see that if you can see it demonstrated in the playground as well. It is significantly above the road. I mean, you know, as other people say, quite a significant building for that location. I think that demonstrates it very well. You can see, you know, where the car would be and above a person walking up there. So I think it would change the whole nature of that area. So I've got those concerns as well. And we maybe, you know, with some advice, they may look at somewhere else. They could have placed that on the line, which would cause less of an issue. I know that still is a green belt issue, but certainly this where the proposal is imposing significant and it changes the nature of that area. But I understand again, like I said, I understand why they want to put something out. I'm the phrase of tidying up the area, but I don't think we can pass on the basis of just making it look a little bit tidier.
No further speakers?
Yes, I would like to confirm what my colleague Councillor Davis said, that I feel that it is overbearing because of its size and height of the road. I understand that nobody else has objected, but we have to bear in mind that this may be because everybody thinks, well, yes, I'll do that as well. And if it's going to help, we have to have a notion of what we think would be reasonable for everybody to do in that area. And whether we think that in the end it would constitute overdevelopment, and for that reason I would support the officer's recommendation.
Yes, Councillor.
Yeah, on principle, I would support the officer's recommendation. In principle, I think it's...
You can speak a bit louder.
Sorry, in principle, I don't think we should do that. I think Bill would agree. In principle, we shouldn't bring out. Look at one particular hard case. Hard cases may law. I'm looking at the community effects of the building already done and whether this would be an overdevelopment to the area, which is a rural area. Like a few councillors pointed out, no one's objected, but I do think it has an adverse effect on the neighbours blocking their lights, particularly when the sun's low. And lastly, so the fourth reason is the visual intrusion into the area. So I, in principle, will back the officer's recommendation of the reviews.
Right, well, I've had it moved in a second, so you can vote against the move in a second that be approved. So I'll take that first.
Just go into what very special some of the very special circumstances.
Right. Yes, certainly.
If it's a move to oppose the officer's recommendation, the reason for refusal was based on the fact that it was disproportionate and there were no very special circumstances to outweigh the harm to the green belt. So in the debate, Councillor Lyons talked about the improvement to the area from tidying up. It would be seen against a backdrop of trees. It would have a green roof. And Councillor Sokol said it wouldn't have an impact on the neighbours, and taking into account those were the matters that appear to be the very special circumstances members thought applied.
Thank you. Right, so All those in favour? Against the officer's recommendation, please show.
Against?
Again, this is against the officer's
To
recommendation.
approve. This is to approve.
Yeah.
Right. Keep your hands raised, please, Councillor Stockwood. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Those against them, on for that.
Okay. So, Councillor Buckles, Griffiths, Martinson, Hughes, Homewood, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's 6.
So you know which way I'm going to go. As I...
So you're using chair's casting vote?
Chair's casting vote.
Okay, sir.
To approve.
Is that the legal officer, is it?
I know.
For the chair to cast.
This isn't the first time I've had to use it. So I don't think I need a councillor. I don't believe that I need.
I just want that clarified.
But you mean you want to substantiate?
Because you can cast vote against officer recommendation.
Yes.
It's at the chair's absolute discretion how he exercises his casting vote.
The chair is not the applicant, it's not the applicant.
Okay, so just for clarity, that application has actually been approved.
Yes.
By a whisker. Right, move on to page. Oh, sorry. Sorry, I was. Page 81, and it's Landlord Station Road, Melbourne.
Thank you, Chair. Adam Walker, I'm the case officer for this application. Application site, which we visited this morning, is an area of grassland. It's unallocated in a local plan. The eastern part is flat, and the western part is quite steeply sloping. In terms of the site, we've got a mill complex to the east. Planning permission for 4 dwellings has been approved to the west. There's trees and a watercourse to the front. And Station Road itself is a cobbled road. It's a private road serving 5 properties. There has been planning permission granted previously on the site, which you can see on this plan, which is 2 large dwellings and then 2 bed and some detached houses approved on the other side. See on the site plan, which shows the layout of the site, which is 7 detached houses. So this represents a more efficient use of the land than the previous approval. The application site includes a turning head, which is within the adjacent land, the adjacent approved development. So that will be used for this proposal. The garage has been moved back for plots 1 and 2, as referred to in the report, to allow for free parking spaces for plots 1 and 2. And a visitor parking space will be provided adjacent to the turning head. The scale of the houses reflects the topography of the site. 2-storey houses in the eastern part, and then 3-storey houses in the western part, where they're heavily dug into the ground. These 3-storey houses are quite similar to the houses that have been approved next door, the semi-detached houses I referred to. Proposed to use natural stone and slate as the facing materials, and a low stone boundary wall will be provided to the front. Some improvement works to Station Road are proposed. These include localised widening, lighting, and a foot-rated side frontage. The plan has now been provided showing the additional widening which is referred to in the report. Widening works will be done in stone sets to reflect the existing character of the road. And overall, how does development management consider the proposals to be acceptable? The application is considered to be acceptable in terms of ecology and drainage matters subject to conditions. In conclusion, the principle of development has already been established, and the proposal represents a more efficient use of land. Officers consider the appearance of the development harmonised with the character of the area, and the proposals will not result in any undue highway safety impacts. The recommendation is to delegate approval of the application. Thank you, Chair.
Members, Councillor Hall.
Yeah, I don't think there's any issues with this. I'm happy to
longest site visit?
You want to make a comment?
Sorry, you want to make a comment?
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting. I mean, it seems to be a site which, you know, it's not overlooked by anywhere, and it seems suitable for development. Just got one or two queries. I'm not quite sure. Just get back up to speed with the local plan and design issues. The question I would ask is why, well, which I know the answer. We've got 7 detached properties, 8 detached properties. Is that the most efficient use of land? Seems to be developers failing to do that. It would seem to me to be more accurate and actually more efficient to do terrace properties and service properties. They don't know what design considerations. I understand that some of these properties have got balconies or terraces. I don't know where we are with design, but it's not strike as efficient. You know, certainly from the installation point of view, energy efficiency point of view, that that's an appropriate thing to do. Whether we can make a certificate in future applications, whether we can make it nice. It's the orientation of it as well. So if you look at people, those that have got the site plan from this morning, given that the properties are attached, there might have been an opportunity for better orientation to get these properties fully south facing as opposed to south east slightly off. I know there's the trees and stuff which would provide some shading with actually to the thermal solar gain being more efficient. So principle I think is fine. It's about to what extent can we influence or advise on design characteristics and issues in particular in terms of efficient design and construction, in particular in terms of energy use.
Good point. Can I just take you on the point of the sun, maybe south facing? I can tell you now, the sun does come down, it would catch it there, because my house is a similar looking further up the road. So it is maximising the sun. I can only answer on that. That is a fact. Do you want further explanation, Andrew, on what you're asking?
Perhaps not for this
meeting, but
the stage of the local plan, can we advise on the best land use and the best design considerations, particularly in terms of efficient use, particularly in terms of insulation, maximising solar gain, therefore minimising the energy use of the property?
We can. It's the simple answer, isn't it? Well, background, this predated the local plan. Outline and circumstances. For the future, and going forward, we're creating design guides to better inform our design quality. But generally speaking, we should, as designers, officers, members, and developers as well, be looking at all of those issues when we deal with new sites, coupled with neighbouring amenities, topography, and all the other issues. But yeah, it's in the agenda, it's high on the agenda, Councillor.
Councillor David.
Yeah, very quickly. Absolutely agree with the comments. And essentially, aesthetically for me, the houses as well don't seem to be establishing character with the location. So I think, again, going forward in the future, whether we can influence those designs. So this design to me is more urban, where the sort of rural location is in. So I think that's another issue. But I would certainly say going forward, it's again looking at the size of the houses and again the efficiency. Also ensuring it fits within the sort of location that places. Otherwise, I would reject it.
The local plan sets a density objective of around 35 there on new sites, whether allocated or unallocated. So that is around the housing mix offer. This scheme predates that, but going forward, the size of houses to get that density might not be large detached all the time. If they can get that density with that, maybe that's okay, subject to character and context, as you say, Councillor. So we have policy tools which are more forceful than we perhaps had prior to the local plan.
Just I agree with what's just been said here. Obviously, saying we're going to have a different position going forward, and we've got supplementary plan guidance being drafted, which will take much more into account in terms of energy efficiency and environmental standards, which I'm really looking forward to, because I think that's something I want to see a little bit more of a push on. So that I think that's good news. And I think there are some semi-detached properties that are going to be to the west of the site as well, so I don't know if it's the same developer, but at least there's that. In terms of Melbourne Town Council, just wanted to ask, because they'd mentioned that they've not been provided with sufficient detailed information to make an assessment as to whether the width of the roadway and highway access was suitable. So they want to know if, they want to reiterate the importance of ensuring the roadway in Kirklees is wide enough to accommodate parked vehicles and access by emergency vehicles. The council is also concerned about the high speed limit of 40 miles per hour. Can you just mention that? Is that alright?
Councillor Reed, certainly.
Oh yeah, I mean,
and he never does it any other way.
That's right. James Turner, House Management, we've now got the information that they asked of London Council, but we haven't had a chance to see it. The roadway's width is 4.8 metres for the most part, 4.5 metres. We've asked for 4.8 metres for a state road or something like that, so just so cars can't park and still get past or two-way traffic. 4.5 would be okay for a number of houses that are on this. As far as the 40 miles an hour speed limit is concerned, it remains 40 miles an hour. Visibility is great, we would ask for a 30 mile an hour speed limit. It is substandard in some terms, but as you saw on the bus, coming out today, you went on the bus, there's everyone else on the bus. You could see relatively fine in each direction, probably 70 or 80 metres.
It's substandard though?
In terms of, it depends how you measure it. The design manual for roads and bridges would say that there's a 40 mile an hour road between 90 metres, so it would be under. Because there's so few houses on there, we could take the view that sort of get you relaxed at one level, which would then be down to 70 metres, so you can see 70 metres. So for the fact that there's only 7 houses, it's suggested before, it's 4 morning trips and 4 evening trips. So the vehicles are using it, given it's already not in use, whereas it should be.
So you're a professional opinion safety-wise, and that's
It's
all right?
fine, yeah.
Yes, very good. Yeah. The station road, I noticed the compounds, which are like the compound road. I heard from officer on the site, because they said they were for 1 to 2 weeks to tarmac the road. Yeah? Can we put a condition?
That's already been sorted. They wanted that, but they haven't got it. The cobble is actually what's going to be put down.
Yeah.
That's history.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, that's a history. It need to be maintained because.
Well, that has been confirmed.
Yeah.
Councillor Griffiths.
Yes, I'm just concerned if we're keeping the cobbles on the road, which I fully approve of, and we're having 40 miles an hour. Where are the cyclists going to go?
Cyclists?
Yes.
To go where?
To their houses.
Not wide enough.
Yes, very much again. The station road itself is subject to a 30 mile an hour limit.
Oh, it is?
It's the main road that's 40. So by the Melbourne Town Council.
Oh, down at the bar, right across the water, yeah.
Well, the main road,
right,
as
yeah.
you come to the junction, that's 40.
That's 40.
That's all right.
Right. And it was moved and seconded. So all those in favour of officer's recommendation, be sure.
Unanimous, Chair.
Thank you.
So the application is approved.
Page 93, it's land at Stony Bank Lane, Thomasbridge.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Kazan, still of the case officer for this application. The application forms part of a larger site, Stony Bank Lane, Thomasbridge, which has previously been granted permission for a total of 52 lanes. Construction works are ongoing to implement this permission. The application before members relates to an area on the southern part of this larger site, as shown within the red line on this plan, which would accommodate 9 dwellings as previously approved. Just to give members some context, this plan shows the siting of 9 houses and retaining walls. This is a plan that shows the previously approved scheme for 9 dwellings. The red line indicates the retaining walls along the southern boundary and the eastern boundary here. There's another retaining wall within the site, 8 metres from the southern boundary, which would form a retaining wall within the site to retain higher levels of land. This was approved in 2017. The current application was submitted following the advice of officers to the applicant that these proposals vary from the previous permission and the engineering operations within their own right constitute development which would require planning permission. This plan indicates the previously approved scheme where you can see by the hatched red line levels within the site. This is a raised garden area, and what's now proposed is the retaining wall on the southern boundary to be set further into the site, excavating this area of land within the 9 plots to create a level garden area for all these plots. The proposals will also seek to swap around 4 of the houses on the end plots here and minor alterations on the rear elevations of these plots. This section indicates the previously approved scheme again by the hatched red line indicating the previous dwellings and the proposed dwellings are again of the same scale, the same siting. This section is taken from Old Turnpike property along the eastern boundary. This is where the proposed retaining wall will be on the eastern boundary, and these are the end 2 plots on here. These site photos were taken in March when the application was submitted. This shows the southern boundary, again the land levels within the site as they are existing and previously approved. The photo shown along the eastern boundary with Turnpike. This photo shows again the site along the southern boundary. This was taken last week, and again you can see the southern boundary, the land levels are higher here and then they drop down 2 metres. This accords with the previously approved scheme. This is again looking back on Turnpike. The application has been brought to committee at the request of Councillor Nigel Patrick for the reasons set out in the agenda. One objection is received, the concerns of which don't specifically relate to the modified proposals. Members have a full report before them addressing all the issues. In summary, with the exception of the proposed ground levels within the rear gardens, layout, design and external appearance of the dwellings and associated development on these plots will largely remain as previously approved. In addition, modifications are considered will provide more useful, accessible rear gardens for the future occupants. As such, officers support the proposals of this application and request the application delegated back to officers for approval as set out in the agenda. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, we have one speaker, Christopher Peatfield, who's speaking on behalf of the applicant. You're right to get the
Good afternoon. My name is Christopher Peatfield. I'm the senior designer at Medro Homes for the applicant's proposal. Our application is seeking approval for the alteration of 9 previously approved units to improve their rear gardens, and this without changing the principles of scale or layout already established. The main alteration proposed to the scheme is a regrading of levels to the rear of 8 of the homes. With the current approved scheme, these homes have split level gardens which are made up of a small hard surface utility area accessed from the ground floor of the property, with the main garden area accessed only via bridges from the first floor of the property. The feedback that we received is that the proposal made as part of this application would allow us to create a single, larger and more usable garden at a consistent level, which would also be accessible to people of all abilities. This is achieved by removing the retaining wall partway through the gardens and instead extending down the retaining wall at the rear of the gardens. The benefits of this alteration are: 1, an increase in natural light to the ground floor of the properties; 2, improvements to the amenity of the new dwellings by providing a single garden area at a consistent level; and 3, some small improvements to the visual amenity of the existing houses. For example, the distance between the old tank house and the closest new dwellings increases slightly, and the ridge levels of the proposed houses are either consistent or slightly lower than the approved scheme. We are aware that the application was brought to committee due to concerns with the proposed retaining wall. We would like to reassure councillors that the overall height of retaining walls is consistent with the approved scheme. This proposal, however, seeks to combine them into a single structure which has been designed by chartered structural engineers. I note from the committee report that one representation from the public has been received, and I would like to address the concerns raised. Firstly, the representation suggests that the application provides additional dwellings to that already approved. I would like to reassure members that the application is not seeking any additional dwellings, nor are the homes dissimilar to those already approved. Secondly, the representation raised concerns with highway safety. Again, I would like to reassure members that this application makes no alteration to approved highways design, and Kirklees highways have not raised any concerns. I'm happy to help with any further questions. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Chair.
Members. Councillor Davies.
I said this when I was there, and certainly after that contribution, it seems to be fairly straightforward. There seems to be a benefit to the houses that will be there. The garden will be opened up, it will be later. So from my perspective, I'd be happy to move.
Councillor Smith, did you wish to?
I would reiterate that. I think there's an important issue with access for people with all types of mobility.
Second.
I would second it.
Councillor Oliver, sorry.
Yeah.
Then.
I think I would agree. It's a southwest based garden. I think you're just looking at the unity, which is the boundary wall. It's going to have the same level of garden. There's no alterations at all to the highways, the number of units.
I'm not a civil engineer, so I'll just have to take the expert opinion on the retaining walls. Assuming the retaining walls are safe, and should be, it seems to me that this is actually an improvement on the residential communities for the houses. I'm all in favour.
When we saw it, it was like a crater anyway. You didn't need to see it,
I know, it sounds like it's going to be of benefit. The only thing I wanted to ask about was the deed of variation to this section 106. So this is part of a wider development, and now we're going to be looking at these 8-9 houses separately. It's going to be a standalone application. How does that impact the section 106? Does that mean they're going to...
Through your chair, it's a new application, it's a new standalone application. There's been 2 section 106 as approved in the large park schemes. So this deed of variation is to basically tie it in with this new application, so the plots on this site aren't sold individually without the requirements for section 106. So we still seek it on this to relate it to this application.
Any further? No? Sorry. Yes, you let's just put the rule from delegate approval to the council. So, the move second. All those in favour, it's shown.
Unanimous, Chair.
So the application is actually for the court with recommendation to change the
So thank you all. So that concludes. It's the office. I missed it. Yes. I got it. Yes, it's Brockles. Actual page 103. Brockles Lane. Brockles.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, members. My name is Ellie Worth, and I am the planning officer responsible for the application of 52 Brockles Lane. The application relates to the erection of a single-storey extension to the southern facing elevation at the host property as seen on the location plan. The proposed extension will be faced in bend to the front and stone to the side elevations. The roof will also have a dual pitch with a southern facing gable. Here are a few photos from the site. So as you can see, this is the existing front elevation. The property is constructed from render and stone. It benefits from a small community space to the front, and this is where the proposed extension will be. This is the existing side elevation. A new door will also be inserted within this elevation. This is the existing rear elevation, and you can see this from standing on Brockholes Lane. From undertaking the site visit, it was noted that there is no clear distinction between the front and rear elevations at the host property, as the side front to highways. So as you can see, to the north is Brockholes Lane and to the south is Oaks Lane. As such, it has been considered that the proposal would be located on the principal elevation at the dwelling house. However, there are no uniform frontages in which line Brockholes Lane and Oaks Lane, and therefore officers believe the location of the extension is acceptable in relation to visual immunity. It has also been assessed that there will be no material harm on the neighbouring properties. So you can see this is looking at 1 Oaks Lane. There's no direct relationship between where the extension will be and these neighbours. There's also going to be a separation distance of 7 metres retained from the extension to the boundary, and the screening that is in place at the moment will be retained. To the other side is 52 Brockholes Lane. A separation distance of 5 metres will also be retained, and the screening along this boundary will also be retained. There are also no concerns in regards to highway safety, and no representations have been received. As such, the application is recommended for approval in accordance with the conditions set out with the report. Thank you, Chair.
Yes, Councillor.
First thing I note is that this comes here because of the situation of the applicant, not because of any concerns about the proposal. I think that's important. I'm happy to trust the professionals of the planning department. They say there's no harm to the application and the move on.
Take your pick.
Oh, thank you, you beautiful young man.
Oh, that's second. Anybody need to speak? No? All those in favour, please show.
Unanimous, Chair.
Delegate.
Delegate approval, transfer